Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Reeltv. On our show, we report and discuss the latest movie news and bring you the scoop from behind the scenes in Hollywood. I'm your host, Connor Smith.
And I'm also your host, Eric Dowling. So today we'll be discussing some Philip Seymour Hoffman movies in the wake of his late and sudden passing. So we're going to talk about mostly how broad of a range Philip Seymour Hoffman had as an actor. A lot of times he really brought his personal troubles really on screen with him, going from movies like Capote, where he played a troubled poet / writer of Thurman Capote or Truman Capote, whatever. And then also movies where he wasn't even on screen, but he had a dynamic emotional range like Mary and Max, where you really emphasize or emote and feel for him in a way where you don't even see him in person, but you just hear his voice and you see this animated character responding to his voice, and it's incredible.
I think my favorite thing about him is I mostly know him because he did a lot of supporting roles. He he did have a lot of leads, but most of his filmography, he had huge supporting roles where the supporting characters almost overshadowed the main characters because he was so great in that role.
Right.
Way back to like Twister, where he was the crazy weather guy. You probably you kind of forget he was in it, and then you look at he was great in it, and then you look at sort of Mission Impossible 3, where he's this crazy villain, and he was the best villain in all four of the Mission Impossible movies. But it just shows that obviously he would do
like a big budget movie,
and then he would go and do pirate radio or an indie movie.
Like Magnolia.
He did a lot of Paul Thomas Anderson movies. But yeah, what I was basically saying is that his supporting roles were amazing. I mean, Boogie Nights, he played the guy on the film crew. He was great. He was hilarious, and he's one of the best characters in that movie. He doesn't have a lot to do, but he gives a full sort of performance.
And another movie that I think that he's really overlooked in is Big Lebowski.
Yeah.
You really see his comedic talents in that movie, and it's crazy. My mic just fell, but it's crazy how wide of a range he has in the movie, and you don't think of him as a comedic actor at all. And he was hilarious in it. He just completely went along with the dude in the movie, wanted him to get the rug, we're not trying to F you, dude, and everything. And he was fantastic in that movie.
Even in Big Lebowski, in a lot of his movies, he's the bigger guy, the really jokey, you know what I mean? And in Big Lebowski, he's the serious guy with the glasses, and he's very...
Right.
He's not John Goodman, you know what I mean? And I think that even that shows his range, that in a movie that's so goofy and so funny and so ridiculous, he's the one that's the really tough straight guy.
But at the same time, being a just so straight-laced that it's funny.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think another movie that really stands out that he's done is, and I'm going to draw a blank on it, but Hunger Games Catching Fire. I think that's really when most of the general public really started to pay attention to him, obviously, because you're in one of the biggest movies of a year, whatever year it's coming out, you're going to get a lot of attention for it, and I think rightly so. And that movie, granted, it may not get the best critical reviews, but the amount of talent that's in those movies is ridiculous. You have Donald Sutherland, Jennifer Lawrence, and Philip Seymour Hoffman, not to mention Woody Harrelson in those movies. And you really step up a game when you bring in a person like Philip Seymour Hoffman into a movie like that.
I think Philip Seymour Hoffman was one of those actors that when he died, you're like, yeah, he was great in this movie, and he's great at this movie. And then you look at his filmography and you're like, oh my God. He has been in every movie that he's been in, he was great in.
Right.
If the movie sucked, it was not because of his performance.
And I think that you can really say that with, it's almost similar in a way to Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
Because with Heath Ledger, granted, Heath Ledger's filmography wasn't anywhere close to the size that Philip Seymour Hoffman's was, but the movies that Heath Ledger were in were incredible. Like, you have Brokeback Mountain, Knight's Tale, 10 Things I Hate About You, just those
Dark
three.
Knight.
That goes without saying, but
yeah.
those four movies alone are just such a broad range of acting talent that you see how gifted these people were at their craft, and you really appreciate acting as an art more so than anything else. And it's a shame that he couldn't really, he tried to get help, but it was a serious problem that he couldn't get any help with.
Yeah, it sort of opens your eyes a little bit to, I mean, addiction's always sad, but I think, and I mean, a lot has sort of come through in the past weeks, but I in a class, we watched an interview with him, and he was sitting back with his scruffy beard, and he was just such a pleasure. He was so nice, and he was talking about indie theaters, and he was talking about sort of the necessity for the small chain theaters, and he was talking about his performances a little bit, and he just seemed like such a relaxed, kind guy who just gave every role so much. And you can tell just by looking at his filmography that he wouldn't choose a role unless
he wouldn't choose based on money. He would choose because it interested him.
Yeah, exactly. I think that passion is almost, it's not lacking, but I mean, you look at like an action star that plays the same part every time, or a comedic actor who is the same goofball in every movie, and then you look at Philip Seymour Hoffman, who's been the goofball, who's been the tough guy, who's been the best friend, and he's done everything and excelled at every single thing that he's done.
And as much as I hate to call him out, Kevin Hart, especially in the most recent span of like 4 or 5 months, he has played more or less the same character in the like 10 movies that he's had come out. That goofy, just kind of annoying character, obnoxious character, and it's making him a lot of money, but it's not really getting him the respect that you want from your peers in the acting community. Granted, his most recent movie, which I'm drawing a blank on, not Ride Along.
About Last Night.
Yeah, that's getting fantastic reviews, but Ride Along kind of just faded. Grudge Match, it came out, and then I think everyone forgot about it.
Most people forgot about it before it was released.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Philip Seymour Hoffman, in contrast to that, really just, he accepted everything. He was like, oh no, that doesn't seem like something I would play, and he wouldn't accept it. He was up for the challenge. He's like a Christian Bale, like a Russell Crowe, or someone like that.
I mean, you watch a movie with him in it, and I mean, maybe Doubt or Almost Famous or one of the great, where he's not on the cover. I mean, maybe he might be, but a movie where you wouldn't think that he's in it before you watch it. And then you're like, wow, you're just blown away. First of all, when you watch it, you're like, oh, yes, he's in this movie. And then by the end of it, he's the thing that you remember in it. Almost Famous is a great movie, and Philip Seymour Hoffman's role, he's maybe in 15 minutes of the movie, and he's probably one of the 5 most memorable performers in the movie.
And I know Cameron Crowe spoke out like almost right after his death and talked about how great it was to work with him. Like, he was such a pleasure, such a willing actor to do anything to be in that movie, and it really helped catapult his career, that movie. And it's a tragedy what happened to him. Really is the only way to describe it. But
I feel like he's never really had that complete goof film that he's just totally regretted or just humiliated about. That, you know what, I feel like every movie that he's done, it might not be a good movie, but him in that movie isn't the bad part of it.
And I can equate that to in that one scene in Zombieland where Bill Murray, do you have any regrets? Garfield, maybe. I think Philip Seymour Hoffman doesn't have a Garfield.
Yeah.
So and it's incredible because he's been around for 20 plus years now in the acting industry, and to go that successfully for that long is ridiculous.
He's almost been under the radar for a long time until sort of Twister, until
and
sort
Capote.
of the mid-90s. I mean, Capote was 10 years after that, but like people in the film community or avid film viewers sort of recognized him around the mid-90s.
Right.
But I mean, 10 years later, he wins the Oscar.
Yeah.
But like, I think he got 5 Oscar nominations.
Total in his career. Because I know he got nominated for The Master, and I know Capote, obviously, but...
I think, I'm not exactly sure, but I know he got a couple, and rightfully so. I just think it's a shame that there aren't going to be another 30, 40 years with more performances from him.
And then just before we end, we'll talk about real quickly how they're going to be filling in his role in Catching Fire. With, I think they're taking old scenes of him filming and just like chopping them up and like almost creating a digital hologram of him, which I think is going to be really interesting to see how they pull that off.
I know that when he died, they said that he had 7 days of filming left, or 8, something like that. But
short.
Hopefully that's enough. I mean, it's not being delayed, the film, so
Right.
hopefully it's enough material that they can sort of piece together what he says without it. Hopefully they filmed the majority of the important scenes that he's in.
And it's really come to be more of an issue lately in the last, I want to say 5 years, with Heath Ledger, Paul Walker, and now Philip Seymour Hoffman, of actors dying while they're in the middle of production. Yeah. And I think that it's really a shame of like what's going on with the movie industry, how much stress all these actors are being put under.
Yeah, it is really upsetting. But rest in peace, Philip Seymour Hoffman.
We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll have some Hollywood buzz and later some trivia.
Welcome back to Reeltv. I'm Connor Smith.
And I'm Brian C. Capon.
And this is the Hollywood Buzz. Next Friday, Pompeii, 3 Days to Kill, and The Wind Rises are being released in theaters. Set in 79 AD, Pompeii tells the epic story of Milo, played by Kit Harington, a slave turned invincible gladiator who finds himself in a race against time to save his true love, Cassia, played by Emily Browning, the beautiful daughter of a wealthy merchant who has been unwillingly betrothed to a corrupt Roman senator. As Mount Vesuvius erupts in a torrent of blazing lava, Milo must fight his way out of the arena in order to save his beloved as the once magnificent Pompeii crumbles around him.
That seems like an interesting movie.
I know, it sounds like Gladiator versus Dante's Peak.
It's like they take a natural disaster like a Titanic and make a movie out of it. I think that's an interesting like mini genre.
Unless it's Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, that's just sad. In 3 Days to Kill, a dangerous international spy, played by Kevin Costner, is determined to give up his high-stakes life to finally build a closer relationship with his estranged daughter and wife, whom he's previously kept at arm's length to keep them out of danger. But they don't know that. But first, he must complete one last mission, even if it means juggling the 2 toughest assignments yet: hunting down the world's most ruthless terrorist and looking after his teenage daughter for the first time in 10 years, while his wife is out of town. That just
AKA that movie with Vin Diesel that I don't remember what it's called. The Pacifier.
Pacifier, yeah,
exactly.
Pretty much.
In The Wind Rises, Gyro dreams of flying and designing beautiful airplanes, inspired by the famous Italian designer Caproni. Nearsighted from a young age and unable to be a pilot, Gyro joins a major Japanese engineering company in 1927 and becomes one of the world's most innovative and accomplished airplane designers. The film chronicles much of his life, depicting key historic events, including the Great Kanto disaster of 1923, the Great Depression, and the tuberculosis epidemic, and Japan's plunge into war. Gyro meets and falls in love with Nahoko, and grows and cherishes every friendship with his colleague, Hanjo. I know that's the last movie by Hayao Miyazaki, so I'm sure that's pretty good.
Absolutely. And actually it didn't do too well in Japan because of the whole kamikaze thing. They actually used that in the movie and they didn't like that. But I heard it's a beautiful movie. And now it's time for the Hollywood Buzz. Orange is the New Black will be back early this summer. Season 2 of the Genji Kohan-created prison drama will debut on Netflix on June 6th, when all 13 episodes will be available. The streaming service revealed the date via a poster teased after the credits rolled on the last episode of Season 2 of the Beltway drama House of Cards, which premiered on February 14th. While Laura Prepon won't return as a regular on the acclaimed show, Danielle Brooks, Taryn Manning, Uzo Aduba were promoted to series regulars. I heard that's a very good show. I just have not gotten into it.
It is great. Netflix is just on a roll because some awesome news. Netflix is adding to its growing role in kids' online videos. They've obtained the exclusive streaming rights to the final season of Star Wars: The Clone Wars, which was lost but now is found, an animated TV series based on George Lucas's Star Wars movies from Walt Disney. The US and Canadian subscribers will be able to view the 13-episode 6th season of Star Wars: The Clone Wars beginning March 7th, and Netflix said that earlier this week. The series ran for 5 seasons on Time Warner's Cartoon Network, and Star Wars is one of the most iconic franchises of all time, and this series joins a long line of Disney content that Netflix members are and will continue to enjoy for years to come. And that was said by Netflix Chief Content Officer Ted Sarantos. The Clone Wars marks an important moment as Netflix welcomes more and more first-run content from Walt Disney Company and its subsidiaries.
I think it's really interesting how Netflix puts out all 13 episodes at once. That's a very different format than what we usually get. but you don't get as much hype in between, like if it's a really good show.
Yeah, true.
Tragedy struck earlier this week when Shirley Temple Black, who lifted America's spirits as a bright-eyed, dimpled child movie star during the Great Depression and later became a U.S. diplomat, died late on Monday evening at the age of 85, her family said. Temple Black, who lured millions to the movies in the 1930s, peacefully passed away at her Woodside, California home from natural causes at 10:57 p.m. Surrounded by her family and caregiver, she was surrounded by her family and caregivers. We salute her for a life of remarkable achievements as an actor, as a diplomat, and most importantly, as our beloved mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, and adored wife of 50 years, the family said in a statement.
Ravenswood is no more. ABC Family has decided not to renew the series for a second season, according to Deadline. The series, which stars a bunch of people that nobody cares about, was a spin-off of the show Pretty Little Liars. Ravenswood centers on 5 strangers in a small town, Pennsylvania, who were brought together by an evil curse, and they must work together to get to the bottom of some mysterious cases that probably no one gave a crap about. So that's Ravenswood. It was canceled. ABC Family, no one really watches any of their stuff anyway. I think that was all our news today. So thanks for watching Hollywood Buzz, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yep, we'll see you soon. Welcome back to Reeltv. My name is Brian Seekapon, and now it is time for trivia again here in Reeltv. This time it's villain trivia, trivia about your favorite villains from movies and TV. Let's meet our contestants.
Hi, I'm Rachel, and my favorite movie villain is Hans from Frozen.
Hi, I'm Kyle, and my favorite movie villain is Gru from Despicable Me.
Hi, I'm Amanda. My favorite movie villain is Lord Voldemort.
All right, are you guys ready to play? Okay, and now remember, the rule is you can't answer the question until I give every answer, okay? And no hovering. All right, first question. Which Batman villain has not yet appeared in a Batman movie? Is it A, Ra's al Ghul, B, the Riddler, C, General Zod, or D, Poison Ivy? Kyle.
C, General Zod.
You are correct.
Nice.
It is General Zod. He's like
Superman
level,
villain.
So
yeah.
it'd be really hard to pull off Batman and defeating him. So that's 1 point for Kyle. Second question. Which psychotic baddie smashes the ankles of a popular novelist? Annie Wilkes in Misery, Michael Corleone in The Godfather Part 2, Noah Cross in Chinatown, or D, Eve Harrington in All About Eve?
Is the answer B? Michael Corleone in The Godfather Part 3?
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Yes, Rachel.
I'm going to guess here.
Yeah.
Eve Harrington and All About Eve. That's my guess.
All right, Kyle, what's your answer?
My answer is A, Annie Wilkes in Misery.
I haven't seen any of them.
Kyle, you are correct. Just
Okay.
Go Kyle.
That was a complete guess.
Go Kyle.
All right, last question, everyone. Which of the following is not a villain in a Stephen King-based movie? Is it A, Pennywise in It, B, Jack Torrance in The Shining, C, Yeager in Salem's Lot, or D, Carrie White in Carrie?
I have no idea.
Nope.
I can guess.
Yes.
I'll
Yes.
guess. Okay. C.
You are correct. It is C.
Oh.
Very nice. Congratulations.
Yay. Thank you.
All right. Well, unfortunately, Kyle wins this round of trivia with us today.
Yay, Kyle.
Yeah, but you did good, Rachel.
Kyle.
Sorry,
Thank
Amanda, but you did have some good guesses.
I did.
All right. Well, that's a wrap for another episode of Reeltv. Thank you so much for joining us. Once again, I'm Brian Seekapon, and this is Reeltv. Have a great night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.